AMG has made a hot hatchback. It's called the A45 and it is extremely expensive, but then its specification is quite special. It has a lot of power and it's four-wheel drive. Its natural rival is the BMW M135i, a cheaper car that's less powerful, but which is rear-wheel drive and potentially even more fun. So, seconds out, round one on the road, round two on the track. Let's find a winner. The first time you even sit in the A45 and you experience it accelerate in second and third gear, you will say, "F me, that's a fast car." It's quite a confusing machine to start with. I'm starting to deconstruct it and understand it a bit better now, but I have to say, to start with I thought, what's this all about? First up, it is magnificently, splendidly fast, and it's got that kind of point-to-point performance that we associate with Evos and Imprezas, but it's got a Mercedes badge on it. So first of all, you think, is this a Mercedes-Benz at all? Because it doesn't really square with any of the brand values you expect. It's small, with short overhangs, quite a long wheelbase relative to its overall size, it's agile, and it just extracts performance from the road surface in a way that you don't expect. It's remarkable just how fast it is. And then you try and think about what's going on, because for nearly £40,000 you've got this turbocharged four-cylinder engine and it doesn't make the best noise in the world, if I'm honest with you, but on upshifts, oh, here we go. First to second, second to third, here we go. Bang. You get these massive cracks on the upshift, which are so exciting. It's a mechanical noise. It's a great noise. Is it a 40 grand noise? I'm not so sure. Other things that surprise about it. Well, first up, I thought the ride's too harsh. The ride is just a bit too firm for me. And it is firm. But the faster you go, the more you appreciate the fact there's some real quality damping behind that firmness. So I'll go back from harsh and say it's firm. It's about as far as I want the car to be, but actually the harder you push, the better it gets. And that's interesting in the context of the BMW, which we'll come to afterwards. There's not much life to the steering, really, not much to be enjoyed there. There's quite a lot to be enjoyed in the gearbox, though. This is Mercedes' own double clutch unit, and it's fast on upshifts, very fast on upshifts. A slight delay on the paddle. It's more responsive to the paddle on downshifts, but it's a fast gearbox. And in combination with this engine, you suddenly feel like you're in a four-cylinder racing car or something. It's quite touring car in feel. Rev it out, pull on a paddle, bang, upshift, move again. Brake pedal, firm, brakes, fantastic on the road. We'll find out more when we do some circuit work later on. Interestingly, the engine doesn't just produce a slab of torque low down. Yes, it's pulling hard from anything above about 1800 RPM, but there's this real kick point at about 5.5 into about 6.5, which I hadn't expected. So in that respect, it does feel a bit revier than the BMW. Is it a 40 grand car? Can this car justify being more than a Porsche Boxster? In some ways, I don't think it can. I mean, there are bits of the cabin that just don't justify the price. This plastic down on the centre console is hard and brittle and will scratch. However, above kind of testicle height, the rest of the cabin, pretty pleasing to me. I don't know, I shouldn't be the judge of aesthetics, but it doesn't look like they've scrimped too much. It feels pretty high quality. I like the compact size. What is so surprising is the way it covers ground is mind-blowing. If you're in an M3 or a C63 on any kind of B road in the UK, don't even attempt to stay with an A45 because you will fall off.
Now we mustn't forget that the A45 AMG is a full house, bespoke performance model, but the M135i isn't a proper M car. Still, as tested, the Merc costs £42,525, with some eye-popping prices for the carbon bits. These body trimmings are £2,550 and the carbon mirrors are, wait for it, £1,230. Power is rated at 360 horsepower, torque at 332. The curb weight is 1,555 kilograms. The 135i has just become a little more expensive in the UK, but not much. Its basic price as a three-door is £30,570, still over £7,000 less than the Merc as standard. However, once you've opted for the amazing 8-speed auto, the adaptive dampers and, well, some other trinkets, you end up with a car which doesn't feel that well specified, and which costs a nip under £38,000. It's a little down on power with 320, but matches the 332 foot-pounds of the A45, and the 135 is 55 kilograms lighter.
Is BMW, with its rather wonderful M135i, playing the marketing headlines game a bit too cutely? I don't think it is, but these are the facts as they stand. Yes, you can buy the car for under £30,000, but if you add the gearbox, the wonderful 8-speed ZF automatic gearbox, that's another £3,000. If you add the adaptive damping, it's another XXXX. We can go on. So let's think of this as a £34,000 car and not a £29,000 car to keep everyone on the forums happy, okay? I'm thinking of it as a £34,000 car. Well, to my eyes, it's a compact, incredibly capable, very fast, very exciting, beautiful sounding package for 34 grand. I still think it's the bargain of the century, and I still think it makes the Mercedes look expensive. This engine, wow. Well, Mercedes has done some incredible work to extract all that usable power and performance from its 4-cylinder motor and its double clutch gearbox, but I hate to say it, to live with, this BMW 6 is a more pleasant engine. It's got a bit more torque. To me, it revs a bit more sweetly. It makes the most lovely, lovely, classic BMW straight six noise. I know it's all a bit synthesized in places. So what's wrong with the M135i? Well, I've discovered something today. I've been driving it over some really, really tough, bumpy roads. And I don't mean kind of a bit bumpy, I mean very harsh. And I think I found the point at which the suspension says, nope, I've had enough. I had it in comfort mode and it felt a bit loose. I put it into sport mode and it felt like the back axle wasn't that well located into the body, like all the bushings were a bit too soft. And where the Mercedes got better and better as I pushed it over those hard roads, well, the BMW, I found its limits a bit. But that was fast driving at kind of 7-8 tenths, which in this car means you're covering ground at an indecent speed. This car is lovely. It's got this quite fast steering rack, it's agile, it makes that lovely noise, it has that transmission. You do think to yourself, what more could I want? And it's in a compact body as well, so it's wieldy, it's quite small, you can use that performance. Is the rear wheel drive thing a bonus? To me, yes, because you can make it do these little squiggles coming out of corners. Neil, put a squiggle in now. Good, you've seen a squiggle. And I rather enjoy those. I know they're not very good for some people, but the car does feel rear driven when you get up it, and I quite like that. You get to make the odd correction. You do get some understeer in the Mercedes. We'll find out again on track later on how they differ, but on the road, on balance, I quite like the rear wheel drive thing, so I don't know how to judge that. What about how I feel inside the car compared to the Mercedes? Well, just like the Merc, you can pick a few holes. There's some hard plastics down here. Again, it's another car that's been stretched into a bigger price category because of its performance, and you can pick holes. Fundamentally, it's a good cabin though. It's probably, to more people, the more pleasant place to sit, but who am I to judge that? I think the instrumentation is very clear, but so do I in the Mercedes-Benz. No, I find it very difficult to find much wrong with this car, but yeah, bumpy roads, maybe not its favourite thing if you're going absolutely flat out. This ZF gearbox is a triumph though. It shifts so fast, it's so good in automatic mode. I know Mercedes has spent lots of time and money, specifically AMG Mercedes, on making that double clutch as good as it is, but in some respects it can't quite match the sheer smoothness and speed of this unit. Before we start in the A45 at the wonderful little Landau circuit, let's look at whether we've got any buttons to play with. Interestingly, there are not many buttons to play with. I've got an off button, which turns all the traction off. Naturally, I've done that. So no stability, no traction. Gearbox just goes to manual, so I can do paddles myself and it will hold a gear. Other than that, there are no buttons. As someone who doesn't really like gimmicky buttons, I feel that's very refreshing. But oddly, I'm now sitting here thinking, there's nothing to play with. There's no pleasing some people, is there? Out onto the circuit. Gear shift, fast. Steering, good weighting. As you'd expect, pretty sensational traction, and then you let it go. Over 5.5, it just strolls along. And it keeps pulling. Very smooth for a 4-cylinder, and I love those cracks on the upshift. They are just fantastic. Great over the curbs, and the brake pedal for me, it's a standout point of the car. I hadn't expected it, but the brake pedal is just so reassuring. From high speed, you hit it with real confidence, and the brakes themselves, superb. I mean, again, I didn't expect it to be such a standout feature of the car. Downshifts, good, but it is a car that you've got to overstop because you think you can catch the next gear and it won't, and you'll think it's not changed down fast enough. It's because you were travelling too fast to get the gear. Haldex, well, we all know about the evils of the Haldex four-wheel drive system. This car slightly exposes the Volkswagen Audi group because Mercedes has done a much better job with this. Ultimately, the car does understeer, but it's nothing like that horrible terminal understeer you get in an RS3. Give it full power on the exit of a fast turn and it will begin to neutralise. In the slower stuff, yeah, it never feels like the back wheels are doing an awful lot of driving in the dry, but God, you know, it's not getting in the way of me having fun, and it's massively fast. I mean massively fast. Car just turns. As for lap times, well, we'll discuss those in a minute. Can I make this car oversteer? In the dry, I'm afraid I can't. What I can do now and again is being a bit brutal with a direction change. I can throw the car in and the car will just begin to neutralise, back axle will step out. But no, it's not a car that I can just play with a la Evo. A little bit of brake helps bring it round as well. But I'm surprised at how much I enjoy its neutrality. I keep coming back to how fast it is though. This powertrain is just immense. It's so immense. It feels like a special car and it's fast. And the more I drive it, the more I like this quite sort of hard-edge 4-cylinder noise and the exhaust bang pops. I really like those. Steering, they've done a great job here. We've got really nice weighting. I'm enjoying it. In fact, I prefer the controls to this car much more than I do the BMWs. I think the brake pedal and the steering especially really do give you a confidence that in the BMW you haven't got. Of course, if you spend a bit more time in the BMW, it comes to meet you. Let's go and have a go in that one. Can be so interesting, but also so dangerous to jump from a car like the A45 straight into the 135i, because initially the car feels very, very numb. Steering wheel feels too big and squishy. The brake pedal feels like it's not responsive. The whole car feels quite loose and lazy in a way that the Mercedes doesn't. And then you spend a bit more time in this car, just do 3 or 4 laps of Landau, and suddenly you realise that you have to work with it a little bit. It's rear-wheel drive, it doesn't want to attack the apex in quite the same manner. The steering, yes, it is strange because it's so fast, but you adapt to the speed of the steering, and then suddenly you feel like you can place the car exactly where you want to. And then you turn the traction control off and you realise that BMW have always been onto something with this rear-wheel drive lark. The engine. It's a bit of a kind of baby supercar in some respects, because this to me feels like a monumental powertrain wedged into this slightly gawky body. And all the time the engine dominates this incredible incredible noise you're hearing, the induction noise, just fantastic. And it revs out. It just loves to rev. It doesn't actually go as well as the Mercedes at the very top end, but you kind of hang on to this just to enjoy the noise. Brake pedal, even when you get used to it, doesn't have that massive reassurance that the AMG does. So yeah, in some respects this doesn't feel like the pucker performance product, and in fairness it isn't, is it? Because it's not an M car, it's an M135i, whereas the AMG is a full AMG spec car. Grip, well, it's interesting. We're on Michelin Pilot Super Sports on this car, whereas that just on Pilot 3's that A45 AMG. So it should have a big advantage in terms of lap time, but it doesn't. Even on normal rubber, the AMG is quicker around this very technical little circuit. There's just something to be said for being able to do that though, isn't there? I'm always going to enjoy it. I know it's not in any way relevant to the ownership prospects of this M135i because people don't go out and do oversteer, but on the road I still love feeling that the rear end is doing all the work. But the A45 is going to have an enormous advantage in terms of all-weather performance. In the winter, in the UK, that's the car you're going to want to be in to be fast and safe. Perhaps this is the car you want to be in to have fun. Open differential though. I wish you could tick a box that said LSD, because even though I can make it do things around here, I'm having to excite the back of the car a bit more than perhaps I'd like to. I love the noise, I love the package. I love the vocabulary of this new style of hot hatchback. It's a totally new thing, isn't it? You get in it and the powertrains of both cars are so impressive. You just stick them in drive and off you go, and then you just pull a couple of paddles. Strangely, I feel less robbed in a car like this by not having a manual gearbox than I do in something like a GT3. It seems to suit the immediacy, the lovely, clever packaging of a car of this type. Maybe I'm being too kind on this type of car, but wow. The performance available, mind-blowing.
So what do they do in a straight line? The 135 does 60 in 4.5 seconds and 100 in an impressive 10.9 seconds, but the AMG is on another level altogether. 4.2 seconds to 60 in a hatchback and 10 dead to 100. That is nuts. Lap times were set at a completely dry track. Remember, the BMW has the distinct advantage of a set of sticky Michelin Supersport tyres, and it managed a 47.7. The A45, using normal rubber, went even quicker, I'm afraid. It did a 47.5, leaving us with the question, what would it do on cup tyres? This is very hard to call. The 135 remains the bargain of 2013, so long as you go easy with the options. Have the auto box and the adaptive dampers, leave the rest. But the A45 drives with real precision. It's so fast, so usable, and even though it doesn't look quite special enough, it's a lovely little object. If I had the extra cash, I'd take the AMG. If I didn't, I'd drive around in an M135i, smug that I had so much for so little.